Welcome to the National Arts Club NAC at Home program. My name is Angela Louie. I am the co-chair of the Fashion Committee and on the board of the governors here at the National Arts Club. We are happy to have you with us today. If you are not familiar with the National Arts Club, it is a 501c3 nonprofit based in New York City with a mission to stimulate, foster, and promote public interest in the arts, and to educate the American people in the fine arts. Annually, the club offers more than 150 free programs to the public, including exhibitions, theatrical and musical performances, lectures, and readings. For more information about the National Arts Club, you can visit us at nationalartsclub.org or find us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. Today, we have a very special program. We are here to talk to some of the contestants and winner of the latest season, season 18, of Bravo's Emmy-winning competition series, Project Runway. Designers Marquise Foster, Geoffrey Mac, and Tyler Neasloney will talk to us about their creations and their experiences on Project Runway. Project Runway started in 2004 and won the Peabody Award in 2008 for using the television reality contest genre to engage, inform, enlighten, and entertain. This groundbreaking series continues to shine a light on the evolution of fashion and inclusion by featuring a variety of sexual preferences, racial backgrounds, and ages, including a non-binary model and a trans model, a dreamer, and the oldest designer ever to compete on Project Runway. I'm so honored to introduce our first guest, Marquise Foster. Marquise Foster's collection was showcased at New York Fashion Week 2017 and 2018, as well as at Philly Fashion Week in 2018. He was a finalist at the Out Magazine 2017 Vanguard Awards. Marquise's work has been featured in numerous magazines and worn by celebrity clients including India Moore and Dominique Jackson. Welcome, Marquise.
Hello, thank you. Thank you guys for having me. Definitely excited to be here.
You were the artsy kid who grew up in Oakland, California, a somewhat rough neighborhood, which I can attest to as I was also born and raised there as well. You are an extraordinarily talented, self-taught artist and designer. Can you tell us about that?
Yes, so growing up in Oakland, finding some type of outlet to kind of release my frustration about what I'm seeing. I didn't grow up in the best area, but I believe that that area kind of made me who I am. It gave me the sense of strength. And today I feel proud to say that I'm from the Bay Area. Our first lady, who just won the vice presidency, is from the Bay Area as well. So that's just something I can be proud of, Bay Area.
That's wonderful. So as a kid from Oakland, you moved to New York, taught yourself to sew and make your own clothing, and landed in one of the most watched fashion television series. It sounds like a whirlwind. What was that journey like?
The journey for me was definitely challenging, especially being a self-taught designer. I had to overcome a lot of obstacles to be able to be seen. Competing in New York, against all these other designers who are just as hungry as me, I had to find a way to stand out. And I did that, finding my niche, drawing a lot of attention, people loving my creations, and just stuck with it. But at first, it wasn't so easy. I had to do some interning, learning, interning, and just going out on a limb just to, get recognized and, feel some type of, certainty that this is what I'm meant to be.
It sounds like that whole path for you was both humbling and built a lot of confidence for you. And we're so happy that we got to see a little bit of that on the show. Well, we are all excited to see more. Marquise, can you take us through some of your creations now?
Yes, I definitely can. Okay. Yes. So this is a look I designed, I would say about in 2018. The creation was actually inspired by Rumpelstiltskin. It was for a ball, which I'm a part of the ballroom community. And within that, I'm able to create some type of fantasy to bring to life. And this one was just that. The jacket is detailed with eyelid trimming, as well as a cross weaving technique that I use throughout the entire jacket. And I also love everything about the military uniform. So there's a emblem on the chest that is actually um, the military awards that they usually get to put on their suit. So that's one of my favorite. And the pants are a technique that I use often, which is a pleating technique that I do individually, put it together and create my own textile. So this one is very colorful, one of my favorites. It's a take on the Joker. A lot of my creations come from me being in the ballroom scene. So this started off as a effect for myself for a category All American that I walk for my house of Saint Laurent. And I wanted to capture the Joker from the latest movie with, all the tattoos and just give it a little Marquise Foster flair. Reason why I have the green shirt with the details at the collar, the harness, just to give, my type of vibes and feel. And I always go for something that is different and unique when it comes to textures. So the pants has a cross stitching technique on it that is kind of risen. Um, yeah, that's one of my favorites. So this one is again something I created for the ballroom scene. This was inspired by one of my favorite candies, which is M&Ms, peanut M&Ms. I created this, I would say, in 2014. Everything that you see was detailed and created by me, from the eyes, the M, the mouth, the plastic detail that you see across the back, the shorts, the shirt. It was just something that at the time I was into, using um, clear PVC to kind of make things look like they're floating. So yeah, that's that look. Speaking of PVC, this is a PVC black clear jacket with rose detail. At the back, I have a chain similar to what you see on a trench coat, just to pull in the waist a little bit. This jacket trench is definitely, a moneymaker type look. Created it again for the ballroom scene. A lot of my designs go from ballroom scene to different editorials. I see as getting a acceptance kind of in a way from the ballroom scene before I'm able to put it into the real world. This one, this took literally, I would say, 3 days. It was an idea that just came to my mind. It is a blazer that I hand painted white stripes on it and also added a lot of chains and safety pin details. The inspiration came from Alexander McQueen. So, in the crotch area, there's a skull and a few studded details, and along the leg pants, there's nothing but safety pins straight down the middle. This look for me was just something that I wanted to give a try to tap into something different, unique, and I'm all about loving details. So I just went crazy with the details and added a lot of different. And this one again was created for the ballroom scene. So this one was kind of like a space ranger. With a lot of my designs, I kind of take the artistic approach, especially within thinking of what can be seen in an editorial. I get a lot of requests for people pulling my pieces for different editorials. So what would stand out amongst, say the bigger brands? I wanted to be able to utilize, my love for costume design and create something that, speaks volume to me. This was also created for the ballroom scene. As I said, a lot of my designs, if it's not my ready to wear stuff, is really me creating for the ballroom scene for myself and then using it to be able to, present this type of work into an editorial for people to see or use in different magazines. Yeah, this was one of my dope creations, I would say. This shirt is magical. I started to play with a lot of feminine vibes. This was a creation that I had in mind, just didn't know how it will actually flow and pull off. So when I did it, it was all on a whim. I did it within like 2 days, just thinking, I need something different, something that's going to stand out, something that is just going to be like, okay, this is a Marquise Foster unisex type vibe, and this is what he speaks of, often about creating. Yeah, and this is one of my white shirts. This suit also was for a ball. This is one of my favorite suits. Haven't been a big person on making suits because sometimes I feel that suits can be very boring. You have the normal blazer, the normal vest, and then the normal pants. For me, I wanted something different because, I love suits, but I wanted something that was just something, you know, different. So I wanted to create a suit of this style. Half side of it is shorter than the other side. The other side is extremely long to kind of match the layer of the skirt that is attached to the pants. It's a half skirt, so that's completely one piece within the pant. Then the jacket, I wanted to add something that speaks royalty. And for me, it was pearls and gold. So all the pearls were hand sewn. I had some help doing the hand sewing because pearl hand sewing can take forever. And then there's chain details along the shoulders where you see the pearls. Then I added a little emblems along the chest, which is like a crown, a key, and a lightning bolt, just to kind of give it a more regal type vibe. This one, again, I don't like plain suits. I took a plaid wool fabric that was just laying around. I didn't know what to do with it. Came up with a suit idea that was just me. I feel I didn't like, the whole plain looking. If it's a red suit, whatever the case may be, is I wanted something different. So the plaid stood out to me as a suit. It's definitely warm. It's more so a winter type suit because it's a thicker wool. I wouldn't suggest this suit being worn in the summer. But yeah, this definitely is one of my first suits that I've ever created, and this was made in 2012 or 11, I believe, one of the two. But this was my first suit ever doing. This shirt started a lot for me within creating with sequence. I was creating a lot of sequence shirts like this for men and women. This one was kind of like the first start of it that kind of got people wanting more of my sequence shirts. This one has a eyelet detail along the shoulders, with string weaved through, so that if you wanted to take off the sleeves, you can as well. But it looks great as is. Yeah, this is one of my favorite shirts.
Well, thank you, Marquise. Those are such beautiful, beautiful images. They really showcase your creativity and originality. We have a couple of questions for you, which we'll get to later altogether. But I wanted to also remind our audience that if you have any questions for Marquise, for Geoffrey Mac, or for Tyler Neasloney, please type them into the chat box and we will get to them later. So for our next guest, we have an avant-garde fashion designer, Geoffrey Mac, who was named the winner of Project Runway Season 18. Geoffrey's innovative custom designs feature an unexpected mashup of futurism and vintage eras. He has created designs worn by celebrities Bjork, Brooke Candy, Madonna, Debbie Harry, Britney Spears, Lady Gaga, Iconopop, Kesha, Detox, and Sharon Needles. Welcome, Geoffrey Mac.
Hi, how are you?
Very good. It's an honor to have you here.
Thank you. Same.
Congratulations on your win. What did winning Project Runway mean to you?
Oh, it meant the world to me. I'm older, sort of the oldest person to win Project Runway. So, I just sort of felt like I was kind of reaching the end of my career and probably going to fold it up and go work for somebody because I'm kind of at that age where got to pick a direction because I've just been fighting my whole life for this. So, it was very validating, and exciting. So,
and really reaffirm that you are, you have all that it takes to be a wildly successful designer.
Yeah.
I also wanted to ask, I know that you've mainly resisted contest shows in your past.
Yeah.
So what was it that made you say yes to Project Monray?
My ex, who passed from COVID in March, I don't want to talk about it, but he's the one that talked me into doing the show. Yep.
Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah. Wear a mask, everybody.
Yeah.
That's all I can say about that. Sorry, keep going.
Well, thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
I'm sorry for your loss. What was it like now when you watched yourself, or what was it like to watch yourself on the series when it aired?
Oh, it was amazing. I have, always sort of struggled with, who I am as a person and how I present myself. And everybody says I was awkward and all of that. So it was really cool to see myself on the show and kind of realize a lot about myself and who I am and be a lot more comfortable, not comfortable on camera, not comfortable when I'm nervous. I'm just a lot more self-aware about myself now and a lot more comfortable in my skin. And, also just being able to kind of like root for myself in the competition and that type of thing. It was a really, really tight competition, some really, really great people.
Yeah.
So, it was a ton of fun. Yeah.
So when you're watching yourself and you see that, for example, the Cyndi Lauper challenge where you won the challenge, what were the emotions like after you've finished filming and you're watching it happen all over again?
Oh, validating. And I mean, there's always embarrassing parts of stuff that, it was all me. So it felt really good. But, it's my childhood idol and, somebody I just totally, worship still these days. She's just so talented. So it was also confirming, and validating to, I've always felt like, I understand her aesthetic. So it was a good moment for me to kind of, feel validated by that.
Well, it was an honor for us to witness all of that creativity, all of that originality from you. Geoffrey, we are ready to see those beautiful designs that won you this competition. Can you share them with us?
Sure. So let's see. This is the last collection that I did before Project Runway. It was called the Dark Collection. There was pretty much just black and some silvers, occasionally a pop of white. Was a collection, a little deconstructed, mostly deconstructed because of budget. So, that was kind of the vibe on that one. But I pulled off, a big collection for not a lot of money, and that's kind of, where I was at. So next. Okay, this is Drost. He's one of my favorite models, and he was on the cover of Viva. Oh God, I should know. Anyway, we'll just not talk about the magazine. There's Sean Drost, my favorite photographer, as Booby Canal. And Booby does all these kind of like toy kind of photo shoots and stuff. And I just love that image. That's a knit piece with the harness. It's a unisex piece, leather and macrame. Next. Oh, this one's tiny. Sorry about that. Brooke Candy in a custom encrusted crystal bodysuit print sort of situation for Mack Cosmetics in the UK. She had some product launch, and that's from that. This is also from Dark Collection. It's a lace bodysuit with a kind of flared hip corset. And, you know, it's all in that. Oh, me just working on a dress I love. Stacked ribbon. Givenchy just kind of knocked that off in their latest collection. They made a suit like it. This one's Bjork. I did her Vulnercura tour, and just latex and chiffon. And I did it in 3 colors, and I was the only designer she wore every show on the tour. Another one from Bjork. This was a cover of her instrumental record. So I loved that I got a cover for Bjork because she was on my wish list of, you know, idols growing up. Another Bjork, it's another color. I didn't know we sent all these, so we can skip it. That's latex on latex. This is Brooke Candy, a custom corset. Forget what we did this for. It was probably like just an album cover or something, but you know, cowboy look, it was spats and a lot of detailing, fully encrusted. Yep. Oh, and this was from the finale of Project Runway. It was just the circle puffer coat. It's all metal mesh, so it was extremely heavy, and then quilted with down. And so it was kind of just the juxtaposition of materials of crazy light and crazy heavy, and that coat weighs 1 million pounds. But yeah, I love that piece. Let's see, this one is just chiffon and embroidered top with kind of a basic men's trouser on a woman. More Project Runway puffer coat, the multi-sleeve kind of dress on Thijin. Again, it's a metal mesh puffer coat. Silicone overlay on cotton batting with like the green sleeves and then a matching duffel on Tice. Brittany, this was a long time ago. This was for USA Today. She did some of her performance. So it is a light up bodysuit. You know, the tits kind of, you know, shot lights, and just was really good. I really like this piece. It was very detailed. Oh, Gaga Monster Ball Tour, Monster Tour. I don't know if it had ball in it or not, but Monster Tour years ago. I first started working for Zaldi, who does a lot of costuming for her. He did the entire Monster Tour, and I did all the latex for it for him. And that was kind of my introduction to working with Zaldi, who I work with still to this day. Oh, my Pride tracksuit. I just love this piece. I've worn this one many times. I just love it. Just rainbow tracksuit. Who doesn't love it? Oh, this one. Okay, this one's really cool. It has those styrofoam pellets in it, so it's floaties, and it looks like a second set of arms on it. It's just a neoprene swimsuit with the weird floaty things, but they actually work and keep you out of water in this weird way. That's fun. Oh, okay. A latex garment with balloon applique and ostrich feathers coming out of it for Detox. When Pulse nightclub had the massacre, I made this for her because she's actually from, you know, from Florida, where the Pulse nightclub was. It was a club she kind of came out of. So that was a piece dear to my heart because, you know, it was a memorial piece. Let's see, this is a latex piece from this collection. I can't remember which collection it's from, but who wore that one? Some drag queen brought this for her. I can't even remember, and I should know who this was. Doesn't matter. It's latex. It's blue and yellow. We'll just leave it at that.
Wow, those are such gorgeous, oh my goodness, they're such gorgeous images. Thank you so much
You're so
for
welcome.
talking us through them. They're beautiful. We obviously know how talented you are, but it's really great to kind of walk through those images again. We will get to all of these amazing questions for you, Geoffrey, in just a bit. I'm delighted to introduce our next guest, Tyler Neasloney, who was a contestant also on season 18 of Project Runway. Tyler Neasloney launched his eponymous label in January 2019 with a focus on bespoke gowns, dresses, stagewear, and custom luggage. Lauded for his meticulous craftsmanship and painstaking attention to detail, Tyler is proud to dress people of all sizes and gender expression. Welcome, Tyler.
Thank you. How are you?
I'm doing well. It's nice to see you.
Nice to see you too. I'm so excited to be here.
What was it like to be on Project Runway? What did you learn on the show?
Oh God, it was so intimidating. I'm self-taught. I didn't go to fashion school. I was the farthest you could ever be from the fashion industry. I knew nothing about it. And then you go in there and you are instantly just thrown into this competition with people who have, been doing this for years with, like Geoffrey, who's made stuff for Britney Spears and Lady Gaga. And you're just like you go into it thinking you're just hot shit. And then you're like, oh wait, I'm actually I don't know if I'm ready for this, but it was amazing. It was really cool for me as somebody who doesn't work in the fashion industry to just immediately be surrounded by all of these creatives. I think for me it was what I was really craving. It was all the talking you get to do to other creatives, like the bouncing of ideas and all the nerdy like fabric stuff that you get to talk about that I don't get to talk about because I'm not really in that industry. So it was amazing. I loved it.
It sounds like a once in a lifetime experience. On top of being such a talented artist and designer, you're, we have to talk about this a little bit. You are very quick and known for your witty comebacks, some of which went very viral. Can you tell us about that and how you directed that sort of attention towards a very worthy cause?
Yeah, that was, I didn't think that moment was going to make the final cut. And when it did, I was sitting here with my partner and my best friend, and we all just sort of watched in silence as it happened. But I made a quip.
Just very quickly, can you describe the moment just to remind our audience what it was, and then what kind of happened and what you did with that?
Sure. So it was episode 4. The challenge was to create a look using clothing that we got at Goodwill, cut it apart, upcycle it, and then repurpose it into a look for Carly Kloss, who's one of the judges, who's the host of the show, for her to wear in Paris. And the criteria was it has to be quintessentially American, upcycled, neither red carpet nor casual. It was just this like very ambiguous category. And so I'm like, all right, well, Carly is, she's married into the Kushner family. That's like very East Coast money. That's like, Hamptons, it's Martha's Vineyard, blah, blah, blah. So like in my head, I'm like, all right, let me give some sort of, like East Coast money buttoned up sort of moment. So I loved it. I thought I put, something that she was going to love out on the runway. And just one by one by one, the judges just told me how awful it was. And it was, and that process, when you're up there on the runway, it's, on TV, that's like 15 minutes, but in real life, that's several hours of you just standing there getting grilled and your outfit just getting torn to shreds and then peeking under the hood and everything. So, after they get down the line of judges, and it was clear everyone hated it. And Brandon Maxwell was saying, oh, I couldn't see Carly wearing this anywhere. I couldn't see her wearing it to Montauk. And so I said, not even to dinner with the Kushners. And oh my God, you could have heard a pin drop in that room. It was silent. It was really crazy. So anyway, fast forward a couple months, that made it on television, and the next day it went viral. It was really nuts. So as outside of fashion, I work for the Ali Fournay Center, which is a nonprofit here in New York that does housing and services for homeless LGBT youth, ages 16 to 24. And I've worked there for about 4.5 years. I lead our big fundraisers. I lead our events and communications. And when that whole moment went viral, I was like, well, clearly I have to do something to, to make something out of this. So I made t-shirts, which I guess is what you do when you have a funny catchphrase. And I directed the proceeds towards AFC. And that was really awesome. It was, it was harnessing this viral moment, which, regardless of your opinion on the Kushners or Carly or whatever, it was still a funny moment. And it was nice to be able to direct that attention and that money to a cause that really needs it.
Well, we were so lucky to witness that moment, which showcases your wit, but also it tells us a little bit about what you're passionate about and what the cause is that's very important for you. So, at this point, we'd love to see your designs and your creations and you talk through them. So I'll hand it over to you.
Sure. I feel like I'm back on the runway getting grilled. So this is at our annual gala last October. We do it at Cipriani downtown. It's about 1,000 people. It's a big, giant evening. This is Marty Gould Cummings. They are a non-binary drag artist. They're actually doing a panel with National Arts Club next week as part of another project. So this is the gown that I made for them to host a portion of the evening. It's an abstract crepe. I loved it because it was kind of my inspiration for the gown was like, it was kind of gritty. It reminded me of graffiti or like a really, grimy wall in downtown New York. But then I sort of reimagined that into this beautiful, glamorous gown. So I was really excited about that piece, and Marty loved it. This was a piece of fabric. Well, it started out as a piece of fabric that I found at Mood. I had been eyeing it for weeks and weeks. The fabric is actually Oscar de la Renta. It's a cotton. This is actually really representative of my design aesthetic, which is very buttoned up. Ironically, it's the same design aesthetic that got me sent home from Project Runway, but very buttoned up, Upper East Side, chic with little details that sort of make it a little bit elevated. So on this, for instance, it's the peaked neckline above the bust that really sort of just takes it from just being an ordinary sheath dress into something else. Oh my God, that's the jacket I'm wearing right now. This is a bomber jacket made from Mikado. Mikado is one of my favorite fabrics to sew with. It's a silk nylon blend. It's really soft. It has kind of this luster, this kind of shininess to it. And then behind me, you can see a coat dress that I made from it. So it's very tailored. Again, that's my gig, is tailored, classic, timeless. I love this print. One of my favorite types of print to sew with is like painterly florals. So not hyper realistic florals, but ones that look like they've been made with like a paintbrush. This is actually the same type of fabric that you saw in Geoffrey's slideshow. This is metal mesh, and this stuff, it's so heavy. I mean, this is just a column dress. I can't even imagine how heavy his jackets were, but this stuff is the craziest to sew because it's made of these tiny little metal discs that interlock, and then over the metal discs are like a flat, like a solid metal disc. So it's chainmail, but in order to sew it, you can't just run it through the machine. You have to go through each hole of the mesh individually, and it was just insane to sew. So this was done for a gala here in Jersey City. This is her name's Lynn. She's a big blogger here in Jersey City. So this was for a big gala here, and she loved it. It's like this beautiful champagne chainmail. There's a close-up of it, so you can kind of see the like the square pattern that the mesh makes, but it's such luxe fabric to sew with, but it's it's a pain in the ass, but it's so drapey. It has such beautiful shine, and if you get it to fit just perfectly, you know, it looks absolutely flawless. There's the back of it. So the back, the front and the back had sort of this cowl drapey detail to it. I really didn't want to get into like tailoring or cutting this material too much. So I just sort of worked with the drapiness of it. That is a dress that I modeled after the dress that I made on episode 1 of Project Runway. This is also made from Mikado, the same material as my jacket. This is a really gorgeous geometric print. I made this, I think, the week I got home from Project Runway from filming it. And actually, if you're a fan of the show and you watched season 18, Nancy who made Final Four, Nancy made a couple outfits out of the same fabric for her finale collection. So that was kind of cool to see her use that as well. So this has boning in those little wings that come off of the hips. And this is, I mean, I think this dress above all of them really captures my design philosophy. It's classic, but it's tailored, but there's also this weird little element that is very unexpected, but also, you know, it doesn't fight with the classic aesthetic, but it adds to it. So I may not have Lady Gaga in my slideshow, but I'll do you one better. That's actually me in drag. And that's a dress that I made. It's made from this white tricot spandex and then this ultra fine, really soft tulle. You can't even see it really where the thighs and the calves are, but that has chiffon cape sleeves that are about 9 feet long when they're not wrapped around my arms. And that was actually for the program that National Arts Club is going to be doing next week. It's a book called Drags, and I was in that book, and this is one of the images. And that is me as well. And that's a crepe kimono, and it's another. I made that, I think, in a couple hours one night. I needed a kimono. I was on my way to Provincetown one summer, and I was like, oh, I need a kimono to lounge by the pool, and I whipped that up before I left. That is a fabric. I think the fabric is Carolina Herrera. I found it at Mood. It's a cotton. I think it's a cotton peak, and this is one of my favorite silhouettes. It's a midi length dress. My all time, you know, I would die to dress her is Kate Middleton, and I feel like this is something that Kate Middleton would wear. This is made from the same fabric that that sheath dress was earlier in the program, and same peak detailing on the neckline. This one actually was part of a contest at Mood right before I went on Project Runway, and it's the bottom of the dress is it's an overlay, so it's cotton but overlaid on top of a fabric called oh my god, I'm blanking on the name. It's like a stiff fabric. It'll come to me. It's a very stiff fabric, but it gives you those like really beautiful undulating curves, and I love this dress. So this is actually fabric that was left on the cutting room floor of Project Runway. I have no idea how it got in my bag. We're not supposed to bring fabric home, but oh well. And this is a wool crepe, a double wool crepe, and a lace overlay. And that lace is that lace costs $100 a yard at Mood. So the fabric is not crinoline. Sorry, I just saw a question pop up, but the lace and this really expensive wool were just sort of left on the floor in Project Runway. So, you know, thankfully my bag was there to save the day. And this is a dress that I made. So if you're picking up on a theme here, you know, like my aesthetic is very like DC Power Woman, or like Hamptons or Upper East Side. This is Nikki Doll. She was on the most recent season of Drag Race, and this dress is modeled after an Alaya creation for Grace Jones back in the 80s. It's a very famous dress that Alaya did. It's purple. His was more purple. This is more of a burgundy. But she's French, this drag queen, so she really wanted to pay homage to French designers. So she wanted a recreation of that dress. So we kind of reinterpreted it for her. There she is again. This one is based off of a Mugler runway design in the 90s. The hemline of that jacket, the jacket is wool, wool and silk. The white is silk and the blue is wool. And the hemline is boned with this very, very slim boning that gives it that bubble shape at the hem. And that's me. When you're not in the fashion world and you aren't connected to models and photo shoots, you really have to be your own model. So this is a weekender bag that I made. And if you look at the sides there, these bags actually zip down the sides and then fold flat into suit garment bags. And there's a hidden compartment in the middle where you can hang your suit up and then fold it back up into a functioning bag. So love these bags. I use them anytime I go somewhere.
Wow, Tyler, that was really, really beautiful. Thank you so much for showing us
Thank you.
various designs, the weekend bag. It's so beautiful. At this time, I think let's bring out all the panelists, Marquise, Geoffrey, and Tyler. And first, I would just want to say thank you so much to all three of you for showing us a little bit about the things you created in your career and on the show. And now I think, we've got so many questions for you. So let's try to get to as many as we can. So we can start off with, what your favorite moment was on the show, and maybe describe a little bit about why it is your favorite moment, what it was, what it meant to you. How about we start with Marquise?
Okay, so my favorite moment on the show, I have two, but I'm gonna say my favorite would be the menswear challenge, being able to present something in front of Tom Brown, who was one of my favorite designers. That whole moment and vibe for me, it was just a feel good moment. I was in my zone, in my element, something that I love and was passionate about within creating. And I knew going on to the show that menswear wasn't something that, is heavily focused on. So this was kind of like my time I can kind of shine. So for me, that was like my all-time favorite moment from the show, other than, bonding with all my castmates outside of filming. Literally those stories can go on for days, but that was my favorite moment on the show.
Wonderful. How about you, Tyler?
Well, I think obviously my favorite moment was that moment, the infamous one. But if I had to pick another, it would be episode 1 when we first got our models. It was really such an exciting day, and then for me especially, I got that challenge. I had Dee Dee, who was the show's first non-binary model. So it was such a cool moment to see such awesome representation, happening in real time.
Amazing. Geoffrey, can you share with us your favorite moment?
My favorite moment's more obvious because it is like the finale. My mom was there, and just Tyler and Marquise and Brittany and everybody is like, I was having the worst panic attack of my life, and just winning in front of like friends and family and all the cast members that are so dear to my heart, and seeing everybody cheer and feel that level of validation is just blew my mind. Still does. Still so proud.
And the way that you show vulnerability on the show and actually so authentically in your life is for so many people too, to be to not be afraid of that. So
Yeah.
those are really, really amazing moments for us as well. You know, there's so many various questions. So let me just direct some of them towards, you know, the three of you. Marquise, what fabrics do you enjoy using? And, you know, what kind of fabrics did you gravitate towards when you were making your designs for the show?
A lot of times I will gravitate towards more of cottons. I love working with cotton. If it's not cotton, it's anything that deals with outerwear, so wool, canvas, something unique. Then again, you know, I had to also step out of using what I'm used to because me creating women's wear require different things. So, you know, as you've seen in a sheer challenge, using a sheer chiffon, um, even tulle, which is something that I used to create a lot of the times within my women's wear, lace gowns. Um, but yeah, it's mostly cottons and heavier type fabrics that I love to use.
Amazing. This is for Geoffrey. Did you apprentice to learn your skills? And how did you go about getting those apprenticeships? This person, yeah, can you start with that?
I can. I jumped right out of school into a latex company. I stole someone from a latex company who knew latex construction, and after school she taught me latex construction. We barreled ahead with a high fashion latex company. So sadly, I don't really have apprenticeship experience. Mine's all just dive in and figure it the fuck out. So I after Chicago, I was there 10 years, and then I had a company for about from 99 to 2005, latex, and it eventually became some fabric stuff as well. Then I was Cynthia Rowley's production director, and I guess when I went into that job, I learned the most I've ever learned about the industry and production and, you know, how it's all technically done. And so it was kind of, you know, I mean, I was production director, which is high up, but I always felt like I was interning because I was also figuring it out, you know? I do advise doing an internship. It's something I wish I would have done and gotten some more clarity on what really goes on in the industry. If you want to intern somewhere, you should intern at the level place that you want to figure out. Because like if you're starting your own business, you don't need to intern at the Gap or like, you know, Carolina Herrera or something. It's like you want to do a smaller business so you can kind of see how that runs because they're all completely different.
That's really great advice. Tyler, this is for you. Aside from the label on your garments, how might people be able to identify your signature in your garments?
Oh, so let me start this off with, I remember the name of that fabric. It's called organdy, the one that like makes that blue dress stand out like that. So I think, look for instance at the three presentations here. I mean, I think each one of us has our own distinct style. And you know, it's so easy to get wrapped up in like, oh, like my stuff isn't good enough or my stuff isn't, you know, the same. I don't know. Fashion is very individual, and I think each one of us has something to bring to the table. So in terms of my individual style, it's very it's something that you might see in, you know, not necessarily like downtown New York, but uptown New York. So I'd say that's what I'd say.
Great. Marquise, we've got a question coming in about apprenticeships for you. This person wants to know how you found them and any advice you might have for students looking for them.
So I found how I went about learning and finding some type of internship is just through networking. I knew coming here to New York that I had to put my feet on the ground and put in that work to find other people that I can learn from. You know, I met a designer by the name of Ty Scott, wanted to intern for him, who was a local designer, wanted to learn some how to use a industrial machine. So that was my first experience of how to use a industrial machine. That was about in 2010, and just studying and watching him sew, then me practicing that same technique and me practicing and practicing and then starting to create my own things. That's kind of how I kind of figured out, you know, how a designer should operate their brand and their business. And any advice I will always say, just network, find those people who are willing to show you the ins and out. And it's mostly the designers who aren't major or big.
Yeah, that's again, very, very good advice for students on how to sort of go to their next step. Tyler, you have a very unique profile in that you're self-taught and you have another full-time day job that's outside of design. So we've got a question about how critical you think it is to attending a fashion show in today's climate of being a fashion designer. Those who may have the same ambitions that you do, but are deciding right now whether it's going to be very helpful for that.
Attend a fashion school, you said?
Mhm.
So, in today's social media age, God, I don't want to give the wrong answer, but it doesn't mean necessarily what it used to mean attending a fashion school. I think there is, after you get, a certain level of experience creating garments, and Marquise, you can probably speak to this as well, but at a certain point, like, you want to start learning the right way to do things, and that, when you're not formally taught, like, that burden really is on you. So you spend so many hours reading books, reading articles, watching YouTube, trial and error. So do I wish I had gone to fashion school? Maybe I maybe like a night class here or there, but I think it's not a necessity. And there are so many other ways to get discovered and to get embedded in the industry. And I think Marquise made a great point in that networking is one of them. It's really a game of how visible you are and how present you are in this industry.
Mm. Thank you. Geoffrey, how was your audition process? As we could imagine that it might be very difficult to go through that process if you were shy.
Yeah, it was rough. Like I auditioned like second or third season and I was so bad on camera. You point a camera at me and I can't talk anymore. So I definitely didn't get on the show because they were really frustrated with me. But second round, I was still just really nervous. Have a hard time looking at the camera. I lose train of what I'm thinking about. I really just had to pretend I was talking to a friend, but it was a mess. The audition process was a mess. My clothes are great, and they seem to like, my skill set and stuff. I was happy that they could kind of tolerate how bad I was on camera because it really took a while for me to calm down and just, be regular on camera. But it was good. It was stressful. And then we flew to LA and kind of had a final interview process out there and did a sequester, our first little mini sequester. And it was fun. I actually liked it.
Well, the final output was that you were great in front of the camera. So we can't tell that you were having so much trouble with it. Geoffrey, who were your influences in your design career?
I mean, in the 90s, a huge influence was Walter van Beirendonck out of Belgium. He was my favorite designer through school. That and like Mugler and always like a little bit of kooky fashion. McQueen was always good and, all the standards. I've always liked Helmut Lang. There's a time. Iris Van Herpen now is great. But, in school, I would say it was more of the like super playful stuff. I was very kooky in school. So yeah.
Amazing. Tyler, so you talked a little bit about carrying the burden of learning a lot of the design elements and fundamentals on your own, because you didn't go to a fashion show. So now that you've gone through that process, we have a question for you, which is, do you believe that there is a right or wrong way when it comes to pattern making and designing?
Well, I think I would like Geoffrey to chime in here as well, because he is a phenomenal pattern maker. But yeah, definitely. So when when I first started out, everything was so fast and loose. I would just I'd make a muslin of my stuff, and then I would just sort of like cram it in a box here and there, and then you forget about it and you forget what it is. So yeah, there certainly is a right and wrong way to pattern make, and I think paramount in that for me is organization. So you really have to like stay. I'm sorry, my dog is coughing over there. I don't know if you can hear it, but you really have to just stay focused on what each piece is and cut out the particular notches and everything like that. So when you can go back to it, a month from now or a year from now or whatever, you're able to, understand what that piece was and what you were thinking while you made it. So absolutely. In terms of fashion design, no, I think the sky's the limit. I think there are no rules in fashion design, and anyone who tells you there are is completely wrong.
Well, Tyler, I know that you talked about this a little earlier, but people are still very amazed that designing isn't your full-time day job. So can you, for those who joined a little late, can you describe again what you do and what your organization, the organization that you work for is?
Yes, and I want to add the caveat here that having a full-time day job and trying to do creative passion like this is so hard, and Marquise knows the struggle too. So my day job is working for the Ali Fournay Center, which is a nonprofit here in New York that does housing and services for homeless LGBT youth. So we have 17 sites throughout Brooklyn and Manhattan and Queens. We house 164 homeless young people every single night, and we see about 2,000 homeless young people every year for all of our other wraparound services like medical and food and everything like that.
Thank you. Geoffrey, we've got someone who's admiring right now the shirt that you're wearing. They're asking if it's possible for you to show the back of it.
Sure. I don't know if there's anything on it. There's a tag. It says like Geoffrey Mac, times sharing needles, and it's called Needles. Can you read it?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Yeah, it was a line. I did share Needles merchandise line when she won, so it was just, it's vintage.
Well, it's beautiful. Thank you. We've got another, sorry, one moment. We've got some final questions. Marquise, can you tell us what, well, can you tell us a little bit about how your work, aesthetic, style have changed since being on the show?
So my work style has changed in a way that now I'm more confident that I can create a outfit in 2 or 1 day. That's for sure. Being on the show, it gives you that pressure and that rush a lot of artists look for. I would say a lot of times you see artists work best under pressure. Project Runway is definitely a pressure situation. So I was able to like really create some things that I thought would take me a little bit longer just because of just how I want everything to be perfect. So for me, that was, my big takeaway, being able to, own it, which is something that the judges talked about a lot, especially Elaine, talking about stepping into who you are. So me stepping into this designer that the world is going to now see, I had to then own it. And that built up my confidence to be able to, come back to reality, create things and garments and customers at a faster rate. People want things now, and people want a faster turnaround. So I believe that helped me within that situation.
That's fantastic. This question is for all of you. The question is, what two people on Project Runway would you do a collaborative collection with today, now that you've seen their capabilities? Let's start with Tyler.
I honestly, anyone from the show, everyone is so talented and everyone brings their own particular aesthetic and their own talents to the show, and there really are no wrong answers here. I did work really, really well with Delvin. He was my partner in episode 1, and then we shared a table for the remainder of my time on the show, and then I came back and then we were partners again in episode 7. And he and I actually have a very similar aesthetic. You know, his aesthetic is very like high end, very not necessarily as editorial as, you know, some of the other designers, but and my style certainly is not as editorial as most of the other designers. So I think Delvin and I would create a killer collab.
Great. How about Marquise?
So for me, the two that I would choose, one, as Tyler said, everybody is definitely phenomenal. One would be Nancy. When I first met Nancy, it's weird. We met at the audition in New York. You know, she was wearing this coat. I fell in love with it. And then she ended up, you know, being in the car with me on the way to our first taping when we couldn't speak to each other, but we already knew each other. So it kind of made everything feel a little bit more smooth. And then being able to work with her for the episode, it kind of made sense for me. She's very creative. She's out the box when it comes to creating unique textiles. And that's something that I love, being able to see unique textiles, create, you know, unique textiles as well. Yeah, definitely Nancy and Chelsea. Chelsea, for me, when it comes to creating streetwear, which is something I love, she has that same type of vibe that I go for as well. So I definitely think that collaboration will be, you know, something phenomenal if ever happened.
And for Geoffrey, which two people on Project Runway would you collaborate with?
Well, I think first would probably be Melanie, just because like working with her is a dream for me. She's just so easy, such a hard worker, also self-taught, which I like because I can help steer that in the right way. But then I think aesthetically, there's more than that, because it's probably Chelsea, Marquise, and Tyler. Aesthetically, you know, Chelsea's got great streetwear, same with Marquise, and Tyler's got like the chic kind of like edgier stuff with the twist. So it sort of depends on what we'd be doing, you know, who'd make the best collaboration. But that's my list. Sorry, it's more than two.
You know, you are so many people's inspiration. So I want to turn the tables on you and ask each of you, who are your design heroes? And it could be in fashion or it could be in other disciplines of art, but who are your heroes that you look to today?
Me?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, Zaldi I work with a lot. He is just incredible. He does like Cirque du Soleil. He's kind of a costumer. He does all of RuPaul's Drag Race and all of that. So I've worked with him for years. He always makes me do the hardest stuff that they can't do in their studio. He gives to me, unless it's a materials thing. Like he even works with like the army on materials for building things. I mean, he developed a LED sock for Michael Jackson for his last tour that like does, you know, it's basically the video monitor, but it's in a woven and it's a sock, and you can, you know, I mean, he just hits next level and doesn't ever take no for an answer, and I really respect that. I don't have a lot of like fashion idols. You know, there's a lot of artists I love, but I would probably just say Zaldi's just been so dear to my heart, and I've learned so much from him, and I admire everything he does. And I don't have a lot of people like that in my life.
That's a great response. How about Marquise? Who are your design heroes?
So right now, one of my design heroes would be Kirby Pierre Moss. Just seeing his transition from the things that he created and the things that he's doing now and taking over the world as a Black designer. Um, it speaks volume and speaks power to me. Um, and it's definitely somewhere where I want to be and I can see myself being. So to be able to see him do his thing within fashion and be recognized by everyone, that's somebody I can say that's my design hero for today.
Great. And Tyler, for you?
Yes, mine, and I was so heartbroken when he sort of faded away, but Zach Posen's stuff is just so timeless, and at the same time it's so out there and beautiful and structured and everything. And I as someone who's not a formally trained consumer or whatever of fashion, Zach's stuff always really stood out to me as something that I could aspire to.
Well, let's talk about today. So Tyler, what are you working on now? What do we have next coming up for you?
Oh my gosh. So I actually, right in this moment, I'll leave it to that. In this moment, I donated a custom gown to a gala put on by the Breast Cancer Research Foundation. And it was like their prize between their galas here in New York, Boston, and Palm Beach, whichever one is in Florida. And so a really, really awesome woman won it. And we've been having virtual, consultations, and right now I'm in the process of pulling fabrics to send down to her. She's based in Florida, and it's really been new territory for me, trying to navigate this custom world virtually. Practically my entire business is custom work. Most of the stuff that I do is for performers on RuPaul's Drag Race, or performers in the city, or anyone who really needs a custom look. And it's been a challenge to sort of switch that model to virtual. So I'm excited to see what that will bring. We've decided on a look for the gown, and next step after fabrics will be making a mock-up in muslin, sending it down there. So it's a lot of back and forth, but I'm having a blast doing it, and so is she. So that's what I've got going on right now.
Sounds very busy. How about you, Marquise? What do you have coming up next?
Coming up next for me, I want to definitely start a virtual showroom. I love creating things that people can pull and utilize for different photo shoots, video shoots, whatever the case may be is. Since I already have, presence of people pulling clothes and items for me, so it only makes sense for me to do that. Other than that, just continue to sew. I'm also a teacher, so continuing to teach fashion design. I'm also in the barroom community, so I'm a father of the house, running a house of Saint Laurent. That's pretty much it. Just trying to stay mentally focused and mentally sane during these COVID times. As Tyler was saying, that making custom pieces for people now virtually can kind of be challenging. I just met with a couple who wants me to do their wedding for next year. So putting everything in perspective of, we have to do things virtually, maybe a virtual, some type of, I don't know, but figuring things out through all this pandemic times is basically what I've been doing.
It seems like you're kind of the master of adjusting to, new environments. So congrats on that. And Jeff, we know you are busy working on probably designing. What are you working on next? And what do we have to look forward to from you?
Well, I haven't announced it yet, but I'm coming out with a menswear line by Christmas. It's supposed to be out by Thanksgiving, but I've been a little slower than regular. but it's going really well, and I'm working with the dream team right now. I have Alexander Wayne's pattern maker, and I've got working with a friend who's collaborating with me in design. He's my design assistant, but he was senior women's wear designer at YSL for a couple of years. So super chic menswear, some suits. And I guess you guys are first to know. So all out by Christmas.
Wow, we're so excited. It's just a few months away. Or a month away. I just want to say thank you for joining us today and for these wonderful presentations. Marquise Foster, Geoffrey Mac, and Tyler Neasloney. It's been an honor to have you with us. And for our audience, please follow Marquise, Geoffrey, and Tyler on their social media accounts. Their links to their websites, as well as all their updates on what they're doing, is in the chat box. So go and learn more about them. If you're interested in other programs presented by the National Arts Club, you can visit our YouTube channel. You can also go to nationalartsclub.org. I am Angela Louie, and thank you for joining us.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Thank you. Stay
Thank
well.
you. Pleasure.